Okay.
Hello and welcome to this webinar on getting free. This is what we call an open house. We're throwing the doors open so we can get to know you and you can get to know us. We can talk about our work. We can talk about our course.
Who we are. And a lot of you will know Anne really well. Maybe not know me quite as well, because I don't teach on past courses.
Tell us something about you, Barbara.
Gosh, what should I say? Yeah, how about you tell people about me?
Okay, I'd like to introduce you all to Barbara McGavin, who I've known since 1991. We've been working together since then as colleagues. We're the co-creators of Inner Relationship Focusing. When we met, we were already focusing teachers, both of us, and already innovating along the same lines. And wow, look what you're doing. Well, look what you're doing too. And from then on, we were partners in teaching. And we're about to tell you how this untangling work originated a few years later. But Barbara is now part owner of Focusing Resources Incorporated. And we continue to teach focusing and untangling as much as possible around the world. Barbara teaches untangling more than focusing.
I teach untangling, yes.
But she's also a principal creator of the certification program for focusing resources. She also likes audiobooks, knitting, cooking, she can identify more flowers when she's walking around outside than anybody else I know. So that's Barbara.
And I have lived for many, many years in England, in Bath, and in 2014 got married to an American, and I've lived most of the time since 2016 over here in California. So, but I do still live part-time over in the UK as well. So I have,
great.
And I'm Canadian, by the way. I'm not an American.
She's Canadian.
I'm Canadian.
And you're not a Brit.
I am
by adoption.
I'm a Brit by adoption. So I'm
That's right.
Canadian British.
That's right. So
anyway,
there we were, both focusing teachers, about to teach a workshop, actually about to teach 3 focusing workshops together in England and Ireland. And I was in a crisis. I had realized to my shame and dismay that I'd been using alcohol addictively. I managed to confess this to Barbara. It felt like a confession because I felt so ashamed. And that I felt very helpless about it. I mean, I'd stopped drinking, but I didn't know how long that would last, how long I would be able to keep it up. I felt like there was something, I'd been lying to myself. There was something in me that could go out of control. I was quite distressed about it. And Barbara's response was,
let's do some focusing.
Let's do some focusing.
Let's do some
yes.
I mean, I didn't know what else to do, you know. Really?
Well, what was really amazing, well, first of all, focusing hadn't worked before. I mean, I'd been focusing at that point for, I don't know, 20 years and still had an addiction to alcohol. So why would we think that focusing now would work? But we love focusing, and we thought we thought we'd give it a try. What else did we have?
Right.
And it turned out that the combination of our unique talents, Barbara's and mine, and the urgency of the situation, and also just being able to do focusing several times a day. Anytime we weren't teaching, we were trying to find free moments to do focusing in. We found ourselves inventing things that were from the roots of focusing, from the depth, and also from our process itself and what it needed. And Barbara was taking out her notebook after every session and writing, what did we learn in this session about how this works? And I started doing that too.
And one of the things that we realized fairly early on was that the way we were with something really mattered. You know, the focusing the way it was already practiced talked about, you know, the focusing attitude and being gentle or kind with whatever was there. But we developed, we expanded, we're already starting to expand the relational aspects of the work. And we really got that, oh, there are parts here that need to be related to. So we got that the relationship was really important pretty early on. And over time, we came to realize that that place from which I relate was also pivotal or central or crucial. And so it was an expansion. You know, everything that we do in Untangling is an expansion, it's an elaboration, it's a development of these underlying focusing work and inner relationship focusing work. And and we came to eventually call it self-in-presence, which many of you.
The atmosphere, the place where we want to come from. We call it self-in-presence. Yeah.
Yes.
And you've heard of self-in-presence, but you probably didn't know that it came from the untangling work. It's not just from focusing, it's from the actual specific application of focusing to really difficult issues, starting with my alcohol addiction. Like I realized in among this tangled mess of thoughts, feelings, shame, feeling out of control, out of agitation, denial, out of all of that, I could say, there's a part of me that wants to drink. And there's another part of me that's really terrified, distressed, anxious about that. It took a while, but we managed to be able to separate those two sides. Now it might seem obvious because you've heard us talk about this in other contexts, but that was really a revelation at the time. And Barbara started applying it to her own really tough issues.
Especially around the whole issue of weight. Of course, I had something in me that ate out of control. And another part of me that was really terrified of that. And so, you know, we had parallel issues around this, but also the issue of not getting things done, of, you know, just dragging my heels, you know, kicking and screaming, getting things done. And so there's something that going, I'm not doing that. And the other one going, but you have to, you have to, you have to. And so we found that there were, in many issues, many different issues, there was these pairs. There's at least two sides. And there could be more and more parts. So we started getting really curious about parts and how parts arise and how parts behave and how parts interact with each other and how you can be with parts so that they can finally stop being parts, like separate bits of you, and actually transform into your whole being. And
amazing.
It's been extraordinary.
And as soon as we came up with some of these methods ourselves. We were walking into a workshop that was a focusing workshop, but an advanced one where people had some really deep questions about healing. And people started asking us questions that we realized we could only answer from the new learnings that we were making that felt so vulnerable and raw and new, but also exciting.
We kept
extremely exciting.
We kept looking across at each other and going, are we going to say anything? Do we say it here?
Yes.
And every time we would go, okay. And we'd say it and they'd go, wow.
We'd go, wow. To the point where people started saying, when are you teaching a workshop on this?
Right.
And the following year we did. And that was 1995. And every year since then, we've taught this work, which at the time we called treasure maps, all over the world. A few years ago, we changed the name to Untangling. We have the central concept of a tangle. Do you have a tangle? Probably. I've had so many in my life. I had 3 major ones that this work has helped completely shift, and there's others still around. But a tangle, what is a tangle?
What is a tangle?
Rather than calling it a problem or a issue or a difficult issue, we call it a tangle.
And we call it a tangle because there are many different aspects that have gotten mushed up together and tangled up together so that you can't just work on one aspect. You have a whole tangle. You can, but each aspect is interconnected and interrelated with all the other aspects. So I did say you can't work on one aspect, but you can. And it affects everything
If you're
else.
self in presence, you can. But when you're in
presence.
the tangle, they're inseparable. And you're either caught in one or caught in another. And it's an endless inner war, or it's the kind of war where there's an uneasy ceasefire. I'm sorry to talk about war right now when it brings up so many feelings. But anyway, the conflict inside is endless as long as we're inside the tangle. And maybe you have something like that. It can be something that feels like an out of control behavior. It can be something that feels like a stuck behavior, like I can't get myself to clean my clutter or finish my article or respond to a difficult email or have that conversation I need to have with somebody. Or it can feel like a repetitive kind of dark or difficult, hard, painful feeling that doesn't seem to have anything to do with the circumstances outside, but gets triggered by them anyway. Or a tangle can be full of longing for something that never happens, so that life is colored by this longing for something that can sometimes get very euphoric, like, oh boy, I'm going to get that finally. But it always crashes in the end. There's all kinds of tangles. But there's certain things that all tangles have in common. And as Barbara was saying, they're very intertwined. So a tangle actually impacts every part of your life. I might have thought my drinking issue was just about drinking, but it was only after it shifted and was in a completely different state that I got invited to write a book, which I'd always wanted to do. I don't see the direct connection there, but it's amazing how much else releases when you untangle.
Call it widening the horizon of possibility. Just what is possible, what the kinds of things that now just feel like I can, I'm willing to tackle them. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to engage in all sorts of areas of life that I remember when we started this work, it felt like my world, my life was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There was less and less that I was actually willing to do or to try. Even with focusing and focusing, it was like focusing helped me tread water. But I never felt like I was really swimming. And even not treading water off that well, actually. It was a hard time. It was a rough time. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that Anne and I were able to work together, that she turned to me and said, I want to work with you. And me? You want to work with me? Are you sure you got the right person? And that's kind of how it was with me at that point. It's like, are you sure you've got the right person? And her courage in sharing about her struggle with alcohol, her difficulties, and how all that was, created an opening, created a possibility where I could also share some of how hard it was for me. And that we were able to really see what was going on in both our lives and willing to use that and go from there, use everything that we knew and realize that we needed more than what we already had. And we had to make it up because nobody else had it. And we'd both tried plenty of therapy, and God knows, I tried almost everything that was available at the time. And it was just not doing it for me. And little by little, we got this, and we discovered that, and we used that, and we changed that. And life is very, very different for both of us. And it's really, really different. And it doesn't mean that we don't have tangles, as we've said. But now, instead of, oh my God, there's a tangle. What a shameful thing. It's, oh my God, there's a tangle. Whoa, that's interesting. There's going to be more life available as we engage with it, as we relate to those parts of us that are so stuck here. Life is going to be released. There's going to be more energy available. There's going to be more understanding. There's going to be more sensitivity. There's going to be more ability to be more authentic, more courageous, and have a whole bunch more fun. I mean, life was grim. Oh God, it was really, really, really hard when we started. It was really hard on my end anyway.
Had a lot of fun.
Huh? You
had a lot of fun. But that's the problem with alcohol. You think you're having fun, but actually you're limiting your life. Yeah. You're only able to express who you really are. Well, never. You can express part of who you are when you've artificially gotten rid of your inhibitions. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and it's so eloquent that life was very hard in many ways for me too, because I wasn't as connected to other people. I wasn't able to be who I am, truly am, in the presence of other people. I always had some kind of a mask on, something artificial was there. Something was protecting me from others, and alcohol was part of that too, but really only part of that. Even without alcohol, there were plenty of things to learn and discover about the places in me that were holding other people at a distance. Most tangles have something to do with other people in that way. And yeah, it's not true that your life necessarily it's not true that when you have a tangle, all your life feels like you're always in it, but there are areas of your life, at least, where something feels impossible. And maybe you've tried and tried. Maybe you've given up, but it doesn't even work to give up because the longing for something to change just keeps rising up again. And the knowing that things could be different, but they're just not, and I don't know how to get there. That's our specialty. Those really tough, stuck life areas. Untangling works. We've had the pleasure of teaching it in so many different places to so many different people over the years. And we want to say a bit more about it to you today and also take you through an exercise in it here and now. What else can we say about the nature of tangles? I hope as you're listening, you recognize something in yourself. There's always something irreconcilable, something impossible somewhere in a tangle. Like maybe two things are impossible at the same time. Impossible for me to both be myself and be in relationship to others. Like either I can be myself when I'm alone, or I can manage to be with others and not really be myself. Sometimes that's what's impossible.
Sometimes it's impossible to feel like it's, for me, that I can really be in the world. I can just it's like there's some kind of, it's not possible to really be in the world. That like there's a veil or a membrane or something between feeling disconnected, feeling. I remember when I used to just feel really floaty. Like I didn't feel like my feet really touched the ground. Yeah. Or numb. Like I couldn't really feel. Yeah, I couldn't really feel.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that that was something in me that was trying to protect me from overwhelm, from feeling too much. So I just go, take it out.
Yeah. We discovered that whether we felt worthy as a person, worthwhile, was also essentially involved in Tangle. And the experience of having an inner critic or judge or something that says we should or shouldn't do something, or we're wrong or bad for the way we are. There's something flawed about us. There's something defective about us. We're damaged. We're deeply wrong. It's unfixable. It's unchangeable. That is all very characteristic of a tangle. And it's a part, or parts, and they are also trying to help us in some really distant, strange way.
Yeah, something that we really learned fairly early on was how parts of us that seem so critical, so even viciously critical, how much they really care, how the motivation of those kinds of parts is essentially positive, not perhaps terribly well expressed, but really wanting us, the best for us, wanting. We used to call it our visionary lover because it has a vision of what's possible. And even though that vision might be a little distorted, it is essentially wanting something good for us. It's hoping that if it only beats us into shape, we will be in the right shape. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well. So we learned ways of helping those kinds of parts be able to express their deepest fears and their deepest desires for us. And in that, help to release them, help to release the energy.
They transform. Both Barbara and I don't have very many inner critics anymore. And we used to have lots.
Absolutely beset by them, torn apart by them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare. I mean, sometimes they go, but then that means, so there's something here that needs attention, instead of, oh, I'm a bad person, I really should, mea culpa. I don't have to do that. I can go, that's interesting. That's such a different way of living. That's interesting. Okay.
It is a different curiosity, living from curiosity and an understanding that the truth is every part of us wants to save our life and
make our life better.
Energy. Yeah. Even. And life energy wants to live forward. And if it gets stuck or blocked, that's something to turn toward and get curious about. And we have methods. We're going to actually tell you what our 5 powers are. In teaching this over the years, we're going to reveal the 5 powers.
We call them the powers of presence.
Yes. Yeah. They're called the powers of presence. I'm even going to write them in the chat.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea.
So let me make sure my chat is going to everyone.
Yep.
Yes. So the 5 powers of presence. And then we're going to take you through an exercise where you get to practice 1 or 2 of them. 2 of them, I think. And then we're going to hear how that was for you and start hearing from you about what your questions are. And we'll tell you about our course as well. So the first power of presence is the power of cultivating self in presence.
And it's, of course, the fundamental, foundational power. We've developed it so that there are 3 aspects to it as well. So there is resourcing, which strengthens it. There is recognizing, which is, noticing, I think we might have a part going on, getting active here. And relating, which is, okay, I'm going to be with something here. So the power of cultivating self in presence.
Second power is called the power of and.
And in every tangle, there is always more than one part. So we need the power of and. There's this part, and there's this part, and there's this, and there's this. And so you become the environment in which all your parts can be present and heard and turned towards.
Absolutely. And so and is a way of not getting merged, identified, that is, with any one of these parts. And in a tangle, that's one of the trickiest things of all, because a tangle is a place where we're characteristically merged with something and not liking something else, because these parts are at odds with each other. They each think they have the best way to help you. And it's typical to be identified, merged with one and not liking the other. In the power of and, you find the place where you're the space where all of them can be here. You're not choosing, you're not taking sides, you're not picking a winner. You're letting them all be here equally with the word and.
We know that each and every part carries an important aspect of who you are. So none of them can be just dumped, gotten rid of. All of them need to be brought back into who you are.
And noticing that there is a part of you, an aspect of you, a side of you that you'd like to get rid of is a good sign of a tangle.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have these parts. Now what? Well, each of them needs a chance to get the kind of contact from you that it needs. And we call that the power, the third power, the power of deep empathy. Because in every case, there's some kind of empathy from the I, self and presence, to the part that will enable it to go through steps of change, its own steps of change.
And we've learned a lot about how different parts, different kinds of parts, need different qualities of empathy. It's not a one size fits all. It's an individualized, exactly how this one needs me to be with it. So it's which makes all the difference, because some of them love cuddles and some of them want respect and some of them really need space and time. Some of them need, up close and personal. So, and we
But in
know a
each
lot about
case,
that.
there's a kind of empathy that will fit the best that kind of part or that part itself.
Yeah.
And the process of deep empathy is a transformational process. It can end up with whatever you're struggling with feeling like it's in a really new place, a really different place. But there's more, even more than that. The fourth power is called the power of felt sensing the stoppage. Now let's tell you a little bit what a stoppage is.
So there is some place in your life where we were talking about impossible, where it just feels impossible to go forward. And there is an experience that causes this, it feels like it's impossible. There is an experience that you have inside that you can touch directly. The way your body holds, carries this can't go forward. And felt sensing that, which is bringing your awareness to it, sensing what it's like, finding the symbols that fit it, match it exactly. That's what felt sensing the stoppage is all about. And it makes a huge difference right there. You've got something to say, I can tell.
The stoppage is not a part. So all the work with parts that we do in the power of and the power of deep empathy, it clears the way for being able to get in contact with something that's often felt to be at a deeper level, that's been under, perhaps even driving the existence of parts. In fact, we believe that that parts, tangles originate in stoppage. This is related to the philosophy of the implicit of Eugene Gendlin. The word stoppage is from Gendlin, and that idea that life wants to live forward. The living organisms always know their next steps, but the trouble is the next step cannot always happen. And when it doesn't happen, it can be, the failure of the next step to be possible can be recovered from, but sometimes there's also no recovery possible. And that creates the kind of stoppage that originates a tangle. So as we start
no recovery possible at the time. There is recovery possible now when you bring felt sensing the stoppage and all of our work. That makes it possible to recover at any time.
Well, so I like to say that when we encounter a tangle now and it's about drinking or it's about not being able to finish your article or whatever, that's just the surface manifestation of it. Deep down, there's a stoppage there that might surprise you in terms of what it's really about.
And one of the amazing things is that you don't even need to know what it's really about for it to change.
No. It's all a process rather than trying to get in touch with what really happened or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the power of felt sensing the stoppage is an amazing power that comes into play after you've been able to do the first three. But there's even one more. And this is also a felt sensing process. And this is called the power of felt sensing it all. And that means that the whole tangle, not all the different parts and details of it, the whole tangle can also give you a whole sense, a holistic sense as you step back and get a perspective on the whole thing. Focusing, the brilliance of focusing allows us to do something called felt sensing, which is an amazing thing to do. And so in our method, we apply felt sensing in two places. One is deep down in the stoppage, and the other is broad and wide to get the whole tangle. And it's a good thing to do along the way after you've done some of the other powers. Pause and get the felt sense of it all and see what feels different now and what feels possible that didn't feel possible before.
Now, any of you who have learned focusing, who are on this call, probably are recognizing the focusing aspect of this. And we haven't left focusing behind, but we found that we needed to add these first three powers in particular to be able to get to a point where we could actually, where a felt sense could form, of where something was really stuck, or where a felt sense could form of a situation as a whole. And it was because we were so identified with parts that in our tangles that we were not making a great deal of headway. We kept trying to do felt sensing because we were focusers, but it was not really very possible. Instead, we would get caught up in the emotion or the opinion or the viewpoint or the conflict. We'd get in one side of the conflict and we would try to felt sense a change into the other one. And that it really wasn't working very well.
You can't get a transformational felt sense unless you're self in presence. When you're merged or identified with a part, you can't get it. Focusing doesn't work until you do the other stuff.
Yes. There's sufficient self in presence to be able to not be merged with a part.
And no wonder tangles didn't ease for us just from doing focusing without this component of inner relationship parts work.
Yes.
So why don't we try it? I want to take you all through a little exercise now, a little adventure in contacting your own tangle.
I'll let you get on with it.
Barbara's going to let me get on with it. It'll be about 10 minutes, I think. And inviting you to settle in to where you're sitting. I hope from what we've been saying so far, you have a general idea of an area of your life that might be a tangle for you. And if you've got several, just pick one for this exercise. You'll be able to repeat it later if you want to with other tangles. If you don't have an idea of what's a tangle, make a guess. It's probably this area. Nobody's gonna make you tell your story. Well, it'll all be between you and you. But to start this exercise, just start with something in your life that feels difficult, stuck, conflictual, impossible, or very, very tough. Let's start there. All right, so taking your time to be more and more aware of your body right now. Feeling your breathing and feeling your body supported by the chair you're sitting on or whatever you're sitting on, or maybe you're lying down or standing. That's all okay. Giving yourself a chance to settle in to your body right now. And letting awareness come into the inner area of your body, the area that includes your throat, your chest, your stomach, your belly. And remember your tangle. But don't get into it right now. Just sort of let it arrive while you cultivate your sense of your own self in presence. Just feeling your body contacting what you're sitting on already allows you a sense of your whole self. You can also sense what feels good right now. Open, alive, flowing, at ease in your body, even a little bit. Your breath can help you feel that open, alive, flowing presence in yourself. And you might also say the words inside, I am here. I am here. And notice if you feel even just a little bit that you can be bigger than the tangle. We're not going to try to solve the tangle or figure it out or even have emotions about it unless they come naturally. What we're going to do is practice the and quality, the and power. So there's something. In the tangle, something happens. Something says something feels difficult, something feels painful, there's a longing of some kind, or maybe an action that feels out of control. Say that to yourself using the language of, I'm sensing something in me. So in my tangle, something in me keeps on staying up late, surfing, obsessively watching whatever, even though I keep saying, we should go to bed, we should go to bed. That would be one example. Something in me keeps on staying up late. So just trying out saying this situation, this difficult situation, one aspect of it with something in me. And see if that already feels slightly better. And it's not, I stay up late or I can't stop staying up late. It's something in me. Or when I need to speak in public, something in me gets terrified and wants to hide or sink or run. Or when I think about telling people about my business, something in me becomes inarticulate and everything I try goes badly. So try saying one aspect of your tangle with something in me. And now find another one. The one that doesn't like that one, maybe, or that's trying to solve the problem, that's having trouble doing it. So something in me, da, 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 and another something in me, da, da, da. Something in me feels terrified when I'm supposed to speak in public, and something in me feels really ashamed of that and says, don't be a big baby. Well, something in me stays up late, and another something in me is longing to get to bed on time and get a good sleep and not have those scary images in my head as I'm trying to sleep. So really having these at least two sides, and there might be more, not me, something in me and something in me. One of them might feel more like you. You could check, does one of these feel more like me? But notice how it feels when you have both of them not being you. This is here and this is here. And I am here with both of them. And as other parts of you appear, you can add them with an and. So something in me stays up late, watching horrible images on Facebook. Something in me is feeling helpless about not getting enough sleep. And something in me is mad at both of these parts. And something in me is feeling helpless about this ever changing. And, right, as many ands as we need. And I'm here with all of them. So just take a little time to do that. This and this and this. And I am here. I am the space where all of them can be the way they are. Feeling your body supported on the chair. Feeling the spaciousness of your whole body. And noticing if you feel some kind of curiosity and even compassion for these different parts of you. You might not, but just notice if you do, even a little bit. We're not going to go into deep empathy right now, but perhaps you can see the possibility of turning toward any one of them and getting to know it better and discovering what really is going on underneath. And how we can hold all of them in this space of open curiosity, not getting caught in the conflict. Noticing how possible that is for you right now. I hope you also knew that you could identify something that's feeling judgmental or critical about this whole thing. That's another something that you are not. And something in me judges this, thinks I'm bad for having it, and I say hello to that as well. Let's bring this process to a gentle completion now. We've just touched on possibility of becoming aware of different parts or sides in your tangle and making a space where they all can be, and you are that space. and sensing the potential then to be able to spend time with any one of them to get to know it better. But with apologies, we won't do that right now. So we'll complete the process with an inner thank you. Thank everybody who came. They're all here for some good reason. And then letting awareness expand, feeling the room around you. When it feels right, letting your eyes come naturally open. And feel free to make some notes on how that was and what came for you. Barbara will come back.
Okay. Thank you.
And we would like to hear from people.
Mhm.
So you can write in the chat, or if you raise your hand, we can hear your voice if you'd like that. How did it go? It takes a while for people to feel like they want to say something and
Thank
then
you,
to
Barry.
actually write it. Okay,
Yeah.
Jerry says, really helpful.
Really helpful.
Oh, so glad to hear that, my dear. Catherine writes, this time it felt like self as presence. Ooh, love it. Vanessa writes, I felt myself merging with a part, but was able to bring myself back to presence. Hey, you did it, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Any tips for when it happens? Well, first of all, the tip is notice what you did, because that's repeatable. And the fact that you noticed is the big thing, because as soon as you notice, maybe you're merging with a part, you're already actually on your way back.
We have a couple of people with their hands up.
Right, but let's see. Okay, all right, well, let's hear from Edith. Edith, I'm going to give you the right to talk. Go right ahead.
Yes. Well, mine was existential. So I was just curious, that courage, I suppose, just to stay with it or something. I was just really curious how to maintain that self in presence when you feel something, there's something big and you feel like, wow, I don't know. Anyway, just
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the first thing that comes from me is really acknowledging something, going, wow. Because that kind of feeling about what's coming, that is perhaps also a part, something that's getting maybe a little bit kind of anxious or overwhelmed, or so that's the first thing that comes to me.
Absolutely, that's a something. Something says this is big. Oh, wow. You know, that you can say this is big from self in presence, but not, oh, this is big. So that's a something to turn toward. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that helps, or if that.
Does that help, Edith?
Well, I decided to go deep, I suppose. That's yes, a little bit, I suppose. Yeah, it's anxiety. Yeah, it's like being in a huge room, you know, it's like you're really in this huge room and you feel like, whoa. Yeah, it's scary there, but somehow you feel like it's
something
good.
in me is scared. Something in me is scared. Remember the something language. It will help.
Yes. No, I'm just obviously hoping that I will learn more, and you know, I'm sold. I mean, you know, whatever you mentioned today, all the tangles.
All right,
I've got them
you're
all.
with us. You're with us. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Let's hear from Mary Martha, and then we're going to need to go on to the rest of the presentation. Let me give Mary Martha the right to talk. Go right ahead, Mary Martha.
I noticed that there were so many somethings in there that I needed to write them down while we were doing it. And
sure.
that really helped, because then I could write one line and then I have and right in the middle underneath it, and then more. So I got 6 somethings, and I know that there's more. So what I'm wondering is it useful to do that, to use the writing process when it seems like there's a lot of ands, or something that's came to me in my focusing recently was that when there's so many ands, it seems like it would be more helpful for me to notice how the whole thing feels. Like there's so many parts of this.
Well, you can notice there's so many parts of this. That's a possible step when you're focusing. But this particular power, the power of and, is enumerative. It's meant to acknowledge as many as are here, or as many as want to be acknowledged right now. And yes, we think writing is great for that. In our handouts for the training, we give out a page that has the word and over and over, and the blanks to fill it in. And we also got a question from Rachel, who said it got really busy for me. Lots of parts wanted to be involved. There may well be very many, Mary Martha, just as you found, and that's okay. It's good to have them all.
Does noticing them mean, or writing them down or noticing them mean that one has to be in contact with them?
No. You don't have to feel them. You just know they're there.
You don't
and
have
maybe
to.
you feel them. Maybe you feel them. That's fine, but you just don't have to. Is that what you mean, Mary Martha?
Yeah, so it's not like I'm making a list of like people I have to call or something. It's just, or I have to figure out how to relate to or something. It's just knowing that they're there. That's enough.
Knowing that they're there and being able to know that you are not any of them.
Okay.
And so that's a big step. That's a big part of it.
That's the big thing. Yes.
Right.
At that point. And then, then there will be a sensing what is needing my awareness, who needs my attention, who needs me to be with them more fully, more deeply.
Yeah.
And it might just be one, or it might be two, or it might be three. It might, and it's so, but it unfolds. It's not like, okay, we're going to line you up and work through you here.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. It's more organic, and it's more sensing the right next step as it unfolds.
Yeah.
And it's also about noticing that even after I've got all the ones I thought were there, I'm still identified with something. Yeah. And that one, like hopeless or disgusted or frustrated, tired, that one is often the key, the one that is still there after I've identified all the others.
Yeah.
And to bring that out as an and as well. And then really feel how I'm okay. I am okay anyway.
Yeah.
That's a very important step. Yeah.
And I contain all these parts, but I am not simply and only one aspect. I am able to, in a way, embrace them all without pushing them away or falling into them or running away from them. They all get, they're all valuable, and they all get a space.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much, Mary Martha.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go on to talking about the course.
We have some guests.
Yes, that's right. So the first thing we want to do in order to tell you more about the course we're going to offer, called Getting Free, is invite some of the people who've just taken it, who want to tell you what their experience was like. Okay, Lily.
One of the things I was thinking about as I listened, as I sit here, I'm aware that something in me for so long would not do something like this. This is how some of how I've gotten free, is being able to be here with you and talk.
Yes, you couldn't have done that a few years ago, right? Wow.
Yeah, and so I was kind of delighted by that this morning. And so many areas of my life are flowing more freely. When I started, and this is the second time I've taken it, and I'm signed up for another one because I love the work so much, the practice and the process. When I started, I felt really imprisoned and very constricted by shame and fear and anger. And now I'm so much less reactive and angry. I noticed this week I'm laughing more. I'm at ease in my relationships. And that is what this is mostly about for me, is my relationship with myself and with the people I love and everything. And that is transforming. My husband and I are closer and we're laughing together, and I'm feeling more connected to my children and grandchildren and friends. What else can I say? I think the main thing for me is, you've already talked about this, is cultivating self and presence and being able to be here with myself, with all that's within me, and I'm still okay. Because I still have some really hard things for me to be with, feelings and memories, but I am able to do that. And so that's such a freedom for me. What else can I say?
Anything about the course structure? We're going to tell more about what it is, but how did you like it? How did it work for you?
I really like the course structure. It seems like you've created everything to support our learning and practice of untangling. I love the videos where you demonstrate the exercises, and I love the reading so much. It's really comprehensive and beautifully written. And so we read the module and listen to Ann and Barbara demonstrate, and then we come to the course with any questions and celebrations, and we practice together in our focusing partnerships. And it all works beautifully together. And I'm enjoying so much my focusing partnerships that I've developed from the course. So
yes, very important. It's partnership too.
Yeah, and as you spoke this morning, both of you, I'm so excited again to begin again and learn this practice. It's like learning a new language for me. So.
Oh, Lily, thank you so much for sharing. I could ask you to go on and on, but I see Elizabeth waiting. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Elizabeth, let's allow Elizabeth to talk. Here you go.
But I'm really happy to be able to speak about this process. I wanted to say a little bit about what I appreciated about the course and its structure, and then a few things about what I personally feel like I'm taking away from this first iteration. So this was my first time through it. And one of the things about this course is that it really gives you both the breadth and the depth of inner relationship focusing. So the breadth, there's this chance to really understand the process and the structure that Barbara and Ann have fine-tuned over 25 years, at least. I'm somebody who had focused quite a bit. I had been at your intensive treasure maps, and those are wonderful and they're very intensive, whereas this, you have the entire year. And I know, Ann, you put this together in 4 seasons. It's very well thought out. And I recall somewhere you use the image of a spiral so that there's an iterative feature about it, that you're coming back around and around and around. And each time visiting or revisiting places with new skills in hand. One of the things about this was that it's an opportunity for anybody who's focused to revisit some of the so-called basics. I think we spent a week or 2 on self and presence. And boy, did that give me a new appreciation that is the foundation for everything. I'd heard the term for years, but now I really experienced it in a different way. And I would also say, as part of the structure, I've learned new things. I learned about invisible parts. I didn't know about those before. And boy, they can have a really, they can play a really dramatic role in what's happening within you. So that was just one example of something new I learned. I think in terms of the depth, I would just say that this was a chance to experience focusing. And of course, that's what it's really all about. I want to just again emphasize that Anne and Barbara put together this beautiful manual. You get a chapter every week out of their own experience. So the language is honed to resonate with their experience. And then they offer it, as it were, to us to take into our own experience to kind of elicit that process within us. And that's a huge gift. Anne uses the term, well, they both do, but facilitative language. And I think that's exactly right. It facilitates the process of working with parts, recognizing parts, offering deep empathy, sensing it all. I had an image, and I was thinking of the person who spoke about being in a dark room, because while I had not been in a cave for a long time, maybe since I was a young child, as I was thinking about the comments I would make, I had this recollection of being in a big cave, Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, and everybody goes in with a flashlight. And you're not alone, but you have this light, and it allows you to see where you are, to get a sense of where you're standing. You might literally not be able to see your feet without the flashlight, but it shows you where you are, and it allows you to get a sense of the magnitude and the nooks and the crannies. And you also learn from the other people and what they're shining their lights on. And that was very much my experience in terms of the community of this group.
That's a beautiful image, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I just, I want people to know that it's everyone's own journey, and we're doing this together. And I had a number of times, so we have these little breakout rooms at the beginning of each 2-week module to reflect back 2 or 3 people about the previous unit. And then there's time for question and answer, and so much learning. I can remember one very particular day in June when one of the members came back, and she was just, her eyes were wide open, and she was expressing such joy at coming to the recognition that there was this really serious critic within her. And now she understood that it was not criticizing her, it was criticizing something else in her. And as I remember Barbara very helpfully saying, when you feel like you're being criticized, that's because you are identified with that part. And that insight from that classmate shifted something for me profoundly, because I had been very stuck at that exact juncture. And so I still really remember that with gratitude.
That's so great. That's so great. Thank you. It's a wonderful alchemy, right? We're on our own journey, and yet others. I wish I could let you go on and on, but you know, we just have to do other things here.
But the partnerships are wonderful. Yeah, and there's so much to learn. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And then we're going to hear from Susan.
I came into focusing during the pandemic, when the pandemic first started in the paths, and then joined the Getting Free this year. And when I came into the course, I had 2 tangles that I brought in, and they were tangles that you know, I wasn't even really aware of what was happening. All I knew was that I could be just having a pretty nice day, and all of a sudden this thing would come over me, and I would get into this mood of feeling bad, feeling guilty. It's like living in a fog of feeling bad about myself and not even knowing that that's what was happening. And so when I came, and I don't have to go into details about what my tangles were, all I know is that they had tortured me. Just this feeling bad and not being able to be present in life when they would come in. And the interesting thing was that in coming to the class and doing focusing with individuals each week, and then also, of course, participating in the treasure map in August, I mean, that was amazing. That sometimes the tangles never even came into my sessions, but I would just see what came up, and then I would work with that with my partner. And in getting to know myself in terms of parts and I think the most important thing for me was bringing empathy and attention to anything that came up. And as I continued doing this, all of a sudden one day, I would say more than halfway through, maybe 3/4 through, I noticed that the tangle wasn't there. It's not that it wasn't there, it's that it wasn't torturing me. What I noticed, so that I didn't even have to like really consciously be like thinking about it and working on it, but just the intention of being present and bringing the self in presence with empathy. I mean, that is such an important, I didn't realize how much I was pushing away in myself, how much I wanted to get rid of, how much I wanted to like try to figure it out. And in reality, just by bringing self in presence and empathy to whatever showed up, whether there's more ands or not more ands, but it was bringing that empathy to that moment that somehow if you were to ask me, well, how did it happen, Susan? What I know is that I don't know. Is it okay to say I'm not sure what happened? All I know is that all of a sudden, what had tortured me for so many years because of certain things that had happened, they were no longer torturing me in that way. That's it.
That is so lovely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your willingness to come. Thank you so much. Yay. Wow, we're going to say more about this course now.
Yep.
And we hope that you're each sensing whether it would make sense for you, whether we want to help you sense the rightness of whether or not you'd like to be part of this course. Let's just give a little basic information here. I'm sharing my screen. The dates are April 12 to March 21. It meets 24 times. So that's a 2-hour meeting on 24 Tuesdays. The precise dates are found on the page on the website. Oh, I'm sorry, this is wrong. It's not 9:30 to 11, it's 9:30 to 11:30. It's 2 hours. So the course is made up of as people were saying so eloquently, it's made up of our beautifully written handouts. I say that because Barbara wrote a lot of them. And each week we have a new point, a new idea, a new structure. And we have an exercise, a paired exercise that's very planned out. So you get the exercise for that week that you can do with a partner. If you need to say certain words to your partner, we've got the words all written out. And then there's a video where Barbara and I demo the exercise for the week. And you can watch the demo, and then you can partner with a partner. We'd be happy for you to take the course with another person and always partner with that person. We're happy for you to be in the partner mix and be partnered with a different person each time. But let's say things went well with a particular person and you wanted to keep working with that person, you could just let me know. I'm the one who partners people, and then you could keep working with that person. You can even partner with someone who's not taking the course. And you can share the exercises, but not the handouts and not the videos. So the partnership is very flexible, and it's designed to work for any kind of situation that you're in. Last year, 1 or 2 people took the whole course by focusing alone in between the modules. And we divide the modules into 4 seasons. In the very first season, we teach the first 3 powers. So you've got that with you as we go on. The second season is about how things get complicated and parts use strategies. The third season is diving deep, diving beneath the surface, about things we can only get to until we've done some work with the surface things, like the stoppage itself. And then the 4th module is called Into the World. And it has to do with what happens next how to go forward from here. And it also has to do with the new problems that arise. And of course, life is made up of new problems.
It has to do more with how you relate with other people.
Other people is definitely found in the fourth module. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so questions about the training?
Yes. There's a prerequisite.
Oh, yeah.
That we need to mention.
Oh, yeah. The prerequisite is that they've had a full focusing training. In our system, that's Path to Lasting Change Part 1 and 2. Some people teach in levels, so that's all 4 levels. If you've had a focusing training and you're not sure if it meets that requirement, just check with us. This is advanced work.
Yeah, we really need to have people who are sufficiently experienced at being partnered, doing focusing partnership.
Yeah. Okay, so Gordon asked, what would a typical class look like? Elizabeth talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Typically, you've already read the handouts and you've already watched the videos, and you come and we give a little process at the start. I think the first few classes are different from this. But we're looking at, once we get going in third or fourth class from then on, we start by looking back. How have things been going? How did focusing and companioning, working with your Tangle, work in the last few weeks? People typically partner every week, by the way, even though the modules are typically every 2 weeks. So you would have had 2 sessions at least since the last time we met. And we get in touch with how that's been going. And then breakout groups, voluntary breakout groups. If you don't want to be in a breakout room, take a break. The voluntary breakout rooms that some people just love, many people just love. It's a way to connect with other people in a smaller group. There may be, and it builds community. And we go on then to do a longer guided exercise. That's the lesson for this week. And after that, lots of opportunity for questions and consultation. Well, after the breakout rooms, we had an opportunity for questions and consultation and sharing. Then we have a break and another longer guided exercise. Then we have a discussion of the new point for this week. Then we have more opportunities for sharing and discussion. Yes. Debbie says, what if we have to miss a class? That's fine. There's no number of classes that you have to attend. Just let us know.
The almost as soon as we finish a class, the recordings are posted so people can listen to them within a day, usually, I think. Anne's very fast at this.
This is a CEU course. If you'd like to get CEUs, if you have the kind of profession for which you'd like CEUs, this is a CEU course. And for CEUs, you have to attend a certain number of times. I think you have to have 80% present alive.
Will there be a similar webinar regarding the retreat in May?
No. We're going to have a retreat in Germany in May. We don't plan to do a webinar in advance of it. What would you like to ask, Tobias? 5 days, 6 day, 2 6-day retreats in Germany. And what else? Barbara, let's pause and sense if there was something more we wanted to tell people. How are the retreats different from the Getting Free year? You know, we've taught the retreat over and over again for 25 years. And we thought that was the only way to do it, in a 6-day immersive experience, and hopefully followed by a second week if you can stay. And it was such a wonderful way, always in a beautiful part of the world. It was such a wonderful way for people to really get this material. It had been transformative for us. Like, we start every retreat with our own Tangle and also go through it during the week. But, you know, even before COVID happened, we felt the rightness of giving a experience that could spread out over a whole year. because there's something about this work that really needs time. And even if you spend a week immersing in it, you then have to carry it forward for it to really feel the effects of it. And that's why we created the Getting Free course.
We really wanted to be able to support people in this, because it can get tough sometimes, and it's really helpful to have, you know, two people and a whole community to be able to help carry your process, to support your process. It really does need time to unfold. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us.
It was so nice to be able to be with you like this. So many nice friends.
Yes.
People.
All right, my dear.
Take care. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye.